My wife's father called me. My daughter needs $18,000 for her business trip to Milan. I sent it. 2 days later, her brother accidentally texted me instead of her. Does he know you're actually in Miami with Jake? I screenshotted it, sent it to the entire family group chat, and added, I do now. Here's your refund request, in court, when the family lawyer called them. The restaurant was one of those downtown places with soft lighting, fake candles, and a waiter who says, welcome in, like he's hosting a talk show. It was 7:18 p.m. on a Thursday. My wife, Lauren, sat across from me with her napkin folded like a little white triangle. Her dad, Richard, was on my left, already talking with his hands. Her mom, Diane, was on my right, smiling too hard. And her brother, Evan, was 2 seats down, nursing a bourbon like it was medicine. Richard raised his glass and said, loud enough for the nearby tables to hear, here's to Caleb, the man who always shows up, the one you can count on. Lauren squeezed my knee under the table like this was a sweet moment. I didn't smile, because 2 days earlier, at 6:42 a.m., Evan accidentally texted me instead of Lauren. Does he know you're actually in Miami with Jake? And at 7:03 a.m., when my brain finally stopped buffering, I took a screenshot. Then I forwarded it to the entire family group chat. Richard, Diane, Evan, Lauren, even Aunt Melissa who still uses Minion GIFs. I added one sentence. I do now. I'm filing for recovery of the $18,000 through the court. Please don't contact me directly. My attorney will. Right now, in that restaurant, Richard was still smiling like he was in control of the room. He didn't know he'd already lost it. I waited until the waiter set down the entrees. I waited until the forks clinked. I waited until everyone was comfortable. Then I put my phone on the table, screen facing up. I'm not here for a toast, I said calmly. I'm here because this ends tonight. Lauren's smile twitched. Richard leaned in like he was about to lecture me. And that's when I decided to stop being their safety net. My name is Caleb. I'm 38 years old, and I'm a banker. Not the movie version. No private jet. No cigar lounge. I work in commercial lending for a regional bank. I'm the guy who reads the contracts people don't read. I'm the guy who asks, what's the collateral, when someone says, trust me. At work, I'm known as calm. Boring, even. My assistant once told a new hire, if Caleb says he's concerned, start sweating. At home, I was also calm. I was also boring. And for a long time, Lauren loved that about me. We met when we were both 27. She was working in marketing for a small travel brand. I was newly promoted, finally making enough money to feel like adulthood wasn't just an overdraft fee with legs. She was warm, social, the kind of person who can ask a stranger for directions and somehow end up invited to their cousin's engagement party. I was the spreadsheet guy, the let's double-check that guy, the one who carries an emergency phone charger and actually uses it. Our first year together was easy. We split rent. We cooked at home. We did a weekend trip to Asheville and felt fancy because the hotel had a lobby bar. Then I met her family. Richard was the type of man who treated every conversation like a negotiation. He never asked how you were. He asked what you were working on, what your plan was, where you saw yourself in 5 years. Diane was nicer, but in a tight way, like kindness that comes with conditions. Evan was Evan, early 30s, always between opportunities, always with a new idea, always one bill away from just needing a little help. They liked me immediately, not because of my jokes. I'm not that funny, because I was stable. Richard loved to say it out loud. Caleb's a banker. He'd tell people at family gatherings. He understands money. It sounded like a compliment. In hindsight, it was a job assignment. The early signs were small. Richard would ask questions about mortgages, just out of curiosity. Evan would casually mention his credit score like it was a tragic backstory. Diane would say things like, you're so responsible, with a tone that implied Lauren had finally upgraded. When Lauren and I got married, I paid for most of it. Not because I was forced, because I could, and I wanted the day to be good. $28,400 total. $8,000 venue deposit. $3,600 photographer. $1,900 for the band Lauren insisted on because live music feels romantic. Richard made a toast at the reception. He said, Lauren found a man who will always take care of her. Everyone clapped. I remember thinking, that's sweet. Now I hear it differently. Here's what nobody tells you about being the reliable one. People stop asking if you're okay with it. They just start budgeting you in. It started with Evan. One Sunday in March, Evan called me at 9:12 p.m. Man, he said, voice low, like we were in a war movie. I'm in a bind. My rent's due tomorrow. I'm short $1,200. I didn't even ask why. That's my first mistake. I asked, when can you pay it back? 2 weeks, he said instantly. He paid it back in 6. And it wasn't even him, technically. Diane Venmo'd me with a note that said, thanks for helping family. Then it was Richard. He wanted advice about refinancing. We sat at my kitchen table while Lauren made iced tea, and Richard slid documents toward me like he was closing a deal. He had a balloon payment he didn't understand, a variable rate he forgot about, a cash-out refinance he'd taken to invest in something. He used words like investment the way some people use miracle. I didn't judge. I just explained. I also made calls. Because that's what I do. I got him a better rate. I got him out of the balloon payment. I saved him $412 a month. He patted my shoulder and said, "That's why you're the smartest one in this family." Lauren beamed like it was a trophy. Then there was Lauren herself. I loved her. I still don't deny that. But over time, the way she talked about money changed. At first, it was, "Can we afford this?" Then it became, "We can afford this." Then it became, "You can handle this." She'd say it casually, like she was complimenting my competence. But the thing that bothered me wasn't the spending. It was the assumption. A few months before the Milan situation, Lauren got really into career travel. She started talking about conferences, networking dinners, brand partnerships, and potential clients. She'd show me Instagram posts of people holding espresso in foreign cities like that was a business plan. One night, in October, she said, "Next year I want to do Milan. It would be huge for me." I asked, "What's in Milan?" "A business trip," she said. That phrase became her favorite. Business trip. Whenever something was vague, it was a business trip. Whenever she couldn't explain a cost, it was a business trip. Whenever I asked follow-up questions, I was being difficult. That was their other pattern, rewriting reality. If I asked for details, I wasn't being responsible. I was being controlling. If I wanted a timeline, I was being negative. If I hesitated, I didn't support Lauren's dreams. And Richard loved that narrative. He started calling Lauren ambitious in front of me, like she was a racehorse and I was the fence. "She needs a man who believes in her," he'd say. I did believe in her. I just also believed in receipts. The breaking point started forming months before I admitted it. I wasn't angry. I wasn't cruel. I was just done, quietly, slowly, like a phone battery draining. I stopped sleeping well. I'd wake up at 4:47 a.m. and stare at the ceiling, running numbers in my head like a broken calculator. Not just dollars. Emotional numbers. How many times I said yes. How many times someone said thank you. How many times I felt like a prop in my own marriage. Then came the call. It was a Monday, December 2nd. Richard called me at 1:06 p.m. while I was in my office, between a credit committee meeting and a client call. I almost let it go to voicemail. I should have. But I answered, because I was still playing my old role. "Caleb," Richard said, not even a hello. "Lauren needs $18,000. I blinked. "For what?" "Her business trip to Milan," he said, like that explained everything. I said, "Why are you calling me about it?" "Because you're her husband," Richard replied, as if I'd asked why water was wet. "And this is important for her future." My stomach tightened. That subtle, familiar feeling, like I was about to be handed a responsibility I never volunteered for. I asked, "What's the breakdown? Flights? Hotel? Registration?" Richard exhaled like I was being annoying. "Caleb," he said, "she's not asking you to audit her. She's asking you to believe in her." That line, that exact line, it landed in my chest like an accusation. Still, I said, "Okay, I'll send it. But I need it in writing. Text me the request." 10 minutes later, Lauren texted me. "Babe, Dad said he called. I'm sorry, he's being intense. I just need $18,000 for Milan. I'll pay it back when I get the client contract finalized. Love you." No dates. No itinerary. No conference name. Just love you. I did what bankers do when they want to protect themselves. I replied, "Confirm, $18,000 is a loan, to be repaid by March 15th. Purpose, Milan business travel." "Agreed." She responded 1 minute later. "Yes, agreed." I saved that. Then I sent the money from my personal savings account, not our joint. I labeled the wire memo. "Loan to Lauren. Repay by March 15th. Milan travel." $18,000 exactly. Sent at 2:11 p.m. I remember watching the confirmation screen and thinking, this is what partnership looks like. Support. 2 days later, at 6:42 a.m., Evan texted me by mistake, and everything inside me went quiet. I stared at the text for a full minute like it might change. "Does he know you're actually in Miami with Jake?" Miami. Not Milan. Miami. With a guy named Jake I'd heard about exactly once, some friend from Lauren's marketing world who knows people. My hands didn't shake. I didn't throw my phone. I just felt that strange clarity again. I wasn't angry. I was embarrassed. Not because she cheated, though. Yeah, we'll get there. Because they thought I was stupid. Because they thought I'd just keep financing the story. I did 3 things before I did anything emotional. I screenshotted Evan's message. I saved it in 2 places. I checked Lauren's location sharing. She'd turned it off. I logged into our airline account, the one connected to her email that she'd left open on our iPad like people always do when they think consequences are theoretical. There it was. A flight to Miami. Not Milan. Departing that same morning. I also pulled the bank transaction record. Wire confirmation. Memo line. Date. Time. Then I did the thing I tell clients to do when they're about to get messy. I called an attorney. At 9:30 a.m., I sat in a small conference room across from a family law attorney named Marta Hill. She was direct in the way only people who make a living off other people's chaos can be. I slid my phone across the table. I don't know what's happening yet, I told her, but I know money was obtained under false pretenses. She looked at the screenshot, the texts, the wire confirmation. Then she asked, "Are you married to someone who thinks you won't act like a banker when it matters?" That sentence hit. Because yes, that's exactly what this was. Marta explained my options. Civil recovery for the $18,000 as a personal loan if it wasn't repaid. Possible fraud claim depending on facts and intent. Separate accounts immediately. Document everything. No threats. No dramatic speeches in the driveway. "Caleb," she said, "you don't need to punish anyone. You need to stop bleeding. Not revenge. Just boundaries." So I prepared. I opened a new checking account at a different bank by lunchtime. I changed passwords on my personal accounts, my email, and anything with shared access. I removed my paycheck deposit from our joint account and routed it to the new one. I printed the text thread where Lauren agreed the $18,000 was a loan with a repayment date. Then, because I've learned that group narratives kill people's reality, I wrote one clean message to the family group chat. No insults. No screaming. Just facts and a legal boundary. I received confirmation this was a loan for Milan travel, repayable by March 15th. I then received information indicating the trip is not Milan. I'm pursuing recovery through legal channels. Please direct all communication to my attorney. I attached. Screenshot of Evan's message. Screenshot of Lauren agreeing it was a loan. Wire confirmation. Then I muted the chat. Because I knew what was coming. Back to the restaurant. Richard lifted his fork like nothing was wrong. Lauren's eyes kept darting to my phone on the table. Evan looked like he was swallowing glass. Diane kept smiling, but the skin around her eyes was tight. Richard finally said, "So, what is this, Caleb? Are we doing theatrics now?" I kept my voice even. "I'm doing accuracy," I said. "There's a difference." Lauren leaned forward. "Can we not do this here?" I nodded. "We can do it here, or we can do it in court. Either way, it's happening." Richard put his fork down slowly. "You sent that message to the whole family. You embarrassed Lauren." I looked at him. The thing that bothered me wasn't embarrassment. It was deception. Evan muttered, "It was an accident." I cut him off without raising my voice. "You accidentally told me the truth. That's the only accident here." Lauren's face flushed. "Caleb, it's not like that." I asked, "Then what is it?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Richard jumped in, fast. "She needed a break," he said. "She's been under pressure. You don't understand what it's like to build something." I laughed once, a short sound I didn't mean to make. "Richard," I said, "I understand building things. I build financial structures for a living. You know what I don't understand? Calling Miami Milan and thinking I won't notice." Diane finally spoke, voice soft. "Caleb, honey, you're overreacting." I looked at her. "No, I'm reacting accurately." Lauren's voice went sharper. "It was going to be Milan originally." I nodded. "Okay, then show me the Milan booking. The conference registration. The hotel in Milan." Silence. Richard leaned back, lips pressed together. "So what? You're going to sue your own wife." "I'm going to recover my money," I said. "That's what happens when someone takes $18,000 under a specific purpose and repayment agreement and then changes the story." Evan scoffed. "It's just money, man." I turned to him. "Then you can pay it back?" "Tonight. I'll take a cashier's check." He stared down at his bourbon. Lauren's eyes got wet. "Caleb, please. You're making me look like someone who lied to get money," I said, still calm. "Because that's what happened." Richard's voice rose. Not yelling, but pushing. You're trying to control her. I shook my head. No, I'm refusing to finance her. Then I slid the printed pages out of my folder, because yes, I brought a folder. I'm that guy? I placed them on the table one by one. Lauren confirming the loan and repayment date. The wire confirmation with memo. Evan's message. A timeline I wrote down with dates and times. I pointed at the repayment date. March 15th, I said. That was the agreement. The legal filing is already drafted. If you want to avoid court, the solution is simple. Return the $18,000. Lauren whispered, I can't. That was the most honest thing she'd said all week. I asked why. Her eyes flicked to Evan, and suddenly the whole picture came into focus like a camera snapping sharp. I looked at Evan. Jake isn't the only person she was traveling with, is he? Evan's jaw clenched. Lauren's silence was loud. Richard stood up slightly from his seat, leaning forward like intimidation would rewrite documents. You don't get to interrogate my daughter. I met his eyes. I'm not interrogating her. I'm ending the arrangement where I'm the ATM everyone protects. Then I delivered my line. The one that wasn't meant to wound, just to close the door. We're even now, I said. You don't owe me explanations. And I don't owe you money. Lauren reached out. Caleb. I stood up, calm, and set a business card on the table. Marta Hill, attorney at law. I won't be taking calls, I said. If you want to resolve this, your lawyer can talk to mine. Richard scoffed. Our family lawyer will tear this apart. I nodded once. Great. He can explain it to a judge too. And then I did the most powerful thing I'd done in years. I left. By 8:11 p.m., I had 17 missed calls. By midnight, the family group chat had 126 messages. I didn't read them all. I saw enough in the previews. Richard, this is abusive. Diane, he's having some kind of episode. Evan, bro, just talk to her. Lauren, please come home. Please. Then the narrative shifted, exactly like it always does when people lose control. They started implying I was unstable. Richard texted my mom, my actual mom, who lives 2 states away, and said he was worried about my mental health. Lauren posted a vague Instagram story about being betrayed by someone you trusted. Evan started telling extended family I humiliated Lauren and chose money over marriage. In their version of the story, I was cold. In mine, I was finally honest. Here's the part they didn't anticipate. I'd already moved the structures. Our joint account no longer received my paycheck. My automatic transfers were canceled. My credit cards were separated. I froze my credit for good measure, because once you've been treated like a resource, you start thinking like someone who needs security. Marta filed the civil claim for the $18,000 as a personal loan with supporting documentation. And then, about a week later, the family lawyer called them. Not because he was on their side. Because he'd received the notice and realized this wasn't a talk-it-out situation. Richard called me furious the next day from a blocked number. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail anyway. Caleb, you're making a huge mistake. This will destroy the family. I listened once. Then I deleted it. Because the family they were talking about was the one where I paid and stayed quiet. That family was already over. 2 weeks later, Lauren finally emailed. Not texted, not called. An email. Like someone who knows it's being saved. She wrote, I'm sorry. I panicked. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't cheat. Jake was just a friend. Miami was networking. Please don't do this to me. Marta read it and said, do you notice she didn't mention repaying the loan? That's what I mean about clarity. The thing that bothered me wasn't Miami. It was that even now, the expectation was still, Caleb will fix it. I replied with one line. Please coordinate repayment with my attorney. Nothing else. No insults. No drama. Silence is a boundary too. It's been 10 months. The $18,000 case settled out of court in month 4. Not because they suddenly developed morals. Because their lawyer looked at the texts, the wire memo, the repayment date, and the Miami receipts that eventually surfaced and told them the quiet part out loud. They couldn't win. I got $14,000 back in a structured repayment plan, $1,000 a month for 14 months, with a signed settlement agreement and an automatic draft. I didn't take her down. I didn't ruin her. I just stopped absorbing the cost of her choices. Lauren and I are separated. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment 12 minutes from my office. It's not fancy. It's peaceful. I make coffee in the morning without feeling like I'm about to be asked for something. I sleep through the night more often than not. I started going to the gym at 6:30 a.m., not because I'm trying to become a new man, but because moving my body quiets my mind. I also started therapy, 2 sessions a month. Best money I spend. Here's what I learned, in a very concrete way. If someone can't explain where the money is going, the money shouldn't go. If you have to beg for basic honesty, you're not in a partnership. Competence isn't a promise to carry everyone forever. I used to think love meant proving you're reliable. Now I think love means someone doesn't need you to bleed to feel safe. And the next time someone says, "You should just trust me," I'm going to smile and say the most banker sentence on earth. Sure, put it in writing. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments. Drop a like and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories.